Hi, this is Jim Rivas, CEO of Cloud Security Alliance, and welcome to the CSA Cloud Trust Summit 2025. We're glad to have you here. We actually have 2 days, two sort of half days of great content. We've got hyperscalers, assurance firms, GRC companies, technologists, solution providers. We've got CISOs. We've got a lot of different experts from different industries, but all around how we do our best to improve assurance, trust in our IT systems in the cloud. And it's something I've posted this on LinkedIn and got a little bit ridiculed, I think, in a good natured way. But that I think GRC is just so exciting now for me, and I think that's where the action is. And so it's not gaming anymore, it's this area. So I'm hoping you're going to enjoy these next couple of days of sessions. We've just got some really strong people again, and would love to hear back from you on anything we should add at future events. So I was brought in here to not just provide this intro and talk a little bit about the day and any just random thoughts, but to specifically talk about a new offering that we think is groundbreaking that's actually being made available today. So my presentation is about Star Validated, which we're talking about evolving our Star Level 1 program, which I'll talk about with the power of AI. So I'm the guy that likes to create names, fun names for some of the different products and services that we're doing. And so validated is you want your assurance to be valid, and AI, I think that explains kind of what this product how it works. And TED, I haven't been invited to a TED conference or a TED talk, but I understand that's where the smart people go. So validated is smart, cool, new ways to be thinking about assurance. And again, we're very excited to talk to you about the solution and hope you like it and hope you'll try it out. So first, I just want to provide some foundational work and kind of let's go back and let's step back and talk about how we've evolved to providing assurance in technology and for CSA, specifically the cloud. So the CSA STAR program, which is Security, Trust, Assurance, and Risk, this has become quite a venerable part of the industry, something that people rely on quite a bit, and it's become a very important trust mark for the industry. So we launched it in 2011, based it on our cloud controls matrix, and then more specifically, our consensus assessment initiative questionnaire, to be able to use that to be able to provide very transparent sort of viewpoint of how cloud providers are meeting assurance needs. And so this is something that we started very small, and I think maybe Microsoft might have been the first entry in there, first one I can remember anyway. And we've grown quite a bit and have I think roughly 4,000 registered provider entries in here. There's different countries that they actually use this as somewhat of a national standard, referenced by a lot of industries. And a lot of enterprises, they sort of use this as a go-to location to really understand the industry and to help them in doing their third-party risk assessment. So you can see from the program pillars we have here that it's very extensive. We've got our cloud controls matrix, which is our controls framework that's foundational to this. Our assessment portfolio, we've got this Star Level 1 self-assessment, and then we've got the third-party assessments, different flavors of that with Star Level 2, both an ISO 27001 version of STAR using CCM as sort of the scoping mechanism. And then the same with our STAR attestation, which is essentially a SOC 2 Type 2, again using CCM. We got our registry, which is the heart of this, and that's our public repository where you can see all of these entries. Some people make that part itself sort of synonymous with the whole STAR program, but it is more than that. We've got our education, our assessor education with the CCAK, the Certificate of Cloud Auditing Knowledge, as well as more specific education to be certified as a STAR auditor. And we've got our STAR-enabled solutions, which allow technology providers to actually include our best practices in their technology offerings. And then STAR Extended, which has grown to do other things. And for example, through partnership with a key organization in the European Union, we actually provide not just our own cloud controls matrix assurance information, but actual GDPR information. And so I think you find that we've become something that's very essential, and it's really sort of been a game changer in the openness and how a lot of different organizations think about cloud assurance, think about how their supply chain, the third parties there, think about how you maybe as a provider, how you can use this to sort of forestall the need for proprietary sort of one-off assessment questionnaires that you might get. So we're enhancing this in a few areas, and I think that's going to be talked about at other presentations. But you see the STAR for AI, that's where we're looking to apply the same STAR program for artificial intelligence providers as well as others using it. And then our compliance automation revolution, which is more of a research project to look at all the different areas that we can actually move the industry forward. So, but STAR, it's been something that I think most of you are pretty aware of, maybe not aware of like the scope of it, but it's used quite a bit in the industry. It's very vibrant. And we find, and just by example, that companies that are looking to use different cloud services, and then they may have a specific use case in mind, they'll go to our registry, see what information is in there. And I picked two semi at random, but these are a couple of excellent companies that have done an excellent job with their STAR assessments and their alignment with what we have published. So for example, company will go look, in this case, GitHub, and go to their level 1 questionnaire and look at what they've actually put control by control, question by question. And so I just pasted a little excerpt here. I'm sure it's somewhat of an eye chart, but to give you that sense of they've done a very good and thoughtful job when you look at all the different controls and questions out there to provide something that really addresses the issues. And so then an enterprise looking to use them can see, yeah, does this fit in with our own risk profile, risk appetite, as we're looking to, in this case, have something for managing our code repos. So it's something that it's really common in how organizations use it. And we've seen some that they're downloading all the time different entries to go analyze them. And we've again seen some countries require it to the point that we will see their government agencies go access this to be looking to make sure that the software that they're using, the cloud software, is actually in here before they go to approve it to be used. So with that sort of as this foundation of where we're at, we can talk a little bit about where it is we're actually going. And there's some megatrends. I could probably do a whole presentation with a lot of different data points on this that are going to create some interesting headwinds for how we do assurance and compliance. So, one is growth. And so this whole data sprawl, organizations are just making so much more creating more data. Maybe they're using AI to help them do that, or they're acquiring companies or growing their customer base, adding new products, creating all sorts of content. And so all of that information needs to be accounted for in some manner or measure in corporate governance programs, data classification, everything else that's out there. Then you also got the compute sprawl, where this is one number I got, that 75 billion IoT devices right about now, and just a massive amount of growth in devices and the compute. So a couple of numbers, I thought that was interesting, that if it were a country, U.S. regulation would be the world's 8th largest economy. That's kind of eye-opening. A lot that each company spends of their total compensation costs on compliance. The global audit services market's huge. And so we certainly have seen a lot of action, hundreds of new national AI laws at state level in the US. A lot of other things have happened. And so AI is actually creating a lot more regulatory action. It's also going to be true that AI is going to help provide solutions to the compliance industry. So, but if we don't get more efficient, and that's why we're doing several different initiatives around this, like CAR, compliance will just reach a breaking point, and so we've got to forestall that. Just so many interesting things happening. You've probably been aware of, and there might be someone talking about it more, like FedRAMP 20X. We're looking to do things very differently there. We're hearing lots of things about other entities might be thinking of new ways to show compliance to their standards or be compatible with their industry. So a lot is happening on that side. So meanwhile, I think maybe there was like a year ago and we were seeing this, maybe there is a trough of disillusionment. Maybe you're using ChatGPT and the early versions hallucinated a lot, and so, well, maybe it's something we just got to wait for. And it's just amazing how it's just growing exponentially. So, recently, and I'm calling it the 6 months that redefined AI and what we think about it and how it's going to impact the world, that we've seen these major frontier LLMs with their chain of thought models, multimodal reasoning. It's just amazing how much better they're getting, where we had some benchmarks where maybe these large language models were in the top 2 millionth in mathematics, and now they're the top couple hundred, and they're actually helping, or you might even say winning, Nobel Prizes. I think they're more assistive in that, but doing some amazing things. So clearly it's getting a lot better. And then we saw these interesting things happening with DeepSeek, other open source, open weight types of models that are showing that there's a lot we can do with improving algorithms and things like that. And so that's really creating a lot of growth. The cost to train, it's just getting exponentially cheaper. There's just all sorts of things happening. And there's been a lot of people talking about, hey, it's really coming now. And I sort of follow Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, and he's really concerned about the impact to vocations and industries. And there's real potential. A lot of this could be coming soon. He didn't say anything about the next 6 months, but I'm just saying there could be a lot of really interesting, very tangible impacts to industries and jobs in the next 6 months. But I think those are all sorts of things we need to be following and thinking about. So let's talk about STAR Validated and what we are trying to do here. So to me, I think it's pretty simple. You probably guessed what we are doing if you weren't going to see the presentation, but you'll want to hear some of the details. So Validated is AI scoring of these STAR Level 1 self-assessments that we have, which everyone, if they have a third-party analysis, which we call Level 2, they still have a Level 1 self-assessment. It's part of the requirements. So what this does is it does an LLM analysis of a cake self-assessment questionnaire based on a scoring rubric that we've developed, our STAR research teams. So it goes question by question and scores the quality of the answer to each one. It's using our cloud controls matrix implementation guidelines as the reference here. The cloud providers, they can take this, they can use this service to improve their security posture, improve what they have in their self-assessment. Because remember the transparency around this, in that anybody in the world can see those level ones, and that's like, it's not optional to hide it. If you put it in STAR, we make it available because we think transparency on principle is so important. So some people sort of ignore that, even if they have it out there. They're hoping, well, maybe just the fact that I have it in the registry, that's going to be good enough. But really, you want to have a quality assurance artifact when you have that attached in there. So what we are doing is we're allowing cloud providers to go through this, and if they receive a passing score, they get this validated seal, which you can see that upper right corner, that replaces the normal star level 1 seal. You can see it's actually been validated, and then they can also use that seal. And today is the launch date. I think we might have a couple already in there. You can go search through the registry to see. So get all that and see this executive summary report. Again, a little bit of an eye chart, but they will get some very quantitative and qualitative information about how their star entry, sort of how it ranks, how it shapes up. So to talk about it a little bit more, how it works, like if you were going to go do this, you're a cloud service provider or you're a consultant for one, to go get it validated, you'd go to the CSA star site, you would select a level 1 self-assessment, and then you'd select the validated option. Now you would pay a fee if it's applicable. So the great news is if you are a CSA corporate member, this is free. And you should be a corporate member anyway, because there's so many benefits for it. So, but if you are not, and you don't want to do that, you pay a fee to use this. And then what you receive back after you've submitted it is you'll get a detailed scoring in the spreadsheet in the cake format. So it's pretty useful because you submitted that, and so you sort of know where all your description, all those things. And we've just added columns with our scoring on there. So the great thing about this is what we're trying to do is really think about improving the maturity of all of the star assessments that are out there. So you actually get 10 opportunities to do the remediation on an iterative basis, improve your answers, which by improving your answers means that either you've improved the security controls or you're just representing your very good security controls in a more accurate way. Then you can go do that. Now, if you pass the first time or the second time, that's great, but you can go through 10 opportunities to improve this. So be aware that the public star site only shows the seal. It doesn't show that you've attempted it, or doesn't show a score. The detailed scoring report and the management report, that's the property of the submitter. So here's an example here of just like from the management report side, how you would see just domain by domain, how an organization did, so they can kind of at a glance get a sense of that and understand, I should probably focus on this specific area. Again, I understand it's a little bit of a eye chart, but in this case, maybe their cryptography area, maybe their interoperability and portability area domains, maybe they need to look at those a little bit more, but they passed, so that's great. The secret of this is our validated prompt, which we've spent quite a bit of time, and it's interesting how prompts like sort of started as like you maybe a one sentence or two, ask a question, and this idea of prompt engineering, which really prompts become the new sort of content that you want to really be careful about and do a good job with, and it goes and it creates whatever you want to create. So the validated prompt, we've spent a lot of time with our background and expertise in CSA's cloud research artifacts, cloud controls matrix, all that experience, and then really digging into AI. And so we've got this prompt, we set the context to be an auditor role. We use the CCM implementation guidelines, as I said before. This is the audit baseline. We have a 0 to 4 scoring for each cake answer. And then it's really important to understand you have to provide a quality implementation description to receive the best score. And it's always been optional but recommended to have that description. But really it is required if you want to get a good score. If you don't justify your answer, your yes/no answer with a description, you will not pass and get validated, that's for sure. If you look a little bit more of the detail here, again, another eye chart, and you may not be able to see it in a lot of detail, but if you look at the answers on that white column on the left, and I picked 4 at random, and I did some anonymization for, again, a very good cake entry that's been assessed by validated, you can see the the smaller amount of information has led to the lowest score, and then the description of why it got a low score, feedback, what they could do to improve it is included. And so you can see as the description got better and better, you see a better and better score. And it's not just length for length's sake, because it does really good analysis on the actual content itself. So, but that's the sort of thing that you get information back. So, we think this is the sort of thing that's going to be, I think, very useful in a lot of different use cases. And I'm going to dig into that a lot more, but it's a tool that someone could definitely use now if you are trying to figure out the best way to answer one of these for the first time. It's always good to look at what other people have put, and you don't want to copy it, but to definitely see like what are good answers, and then do my controls align with that. So if we talk about like how the industry can use this, how it will use this, there's a lot of things that like I've been thinking about. And so starting today, that if you are licensed, if you have a license for the Cloud Controls Matrix, to include it in your GRC solution, your technology that helps organizations do risk management, controls, compliance, all that. There's a lot of them out there that have the CSA properties, Cloud Controls Matrix, inside of their tools. Now you have access to that prompt, and you can use that prompt in a lot of different ways, which there's probably a lot I haven't even thought of, but I'll talk a little bit more about that next. And also, you should know that in this package, you will be getting the AI Controls Matrix, which will be released fairly soon. And that's something that, as you can imagine, that's going to be really critical in that foundation for the star for AI. So, if you're a service provider and you're wanting to prepare, and you do have some tools that help you like build out your trust center, or GRC tools that help you do a lot of other compliance activities. I know there's a lot of them, or help you map to other responsibilities you might have for other markets you want to address. That using this validated prompt and the types of feedback it gives you, it's really going to prepare you for those third-party audits better, because this is sort of where it came from. We've had a lot of expertise in the assurance industry that have been helping us build all of our research artifacts in our whole STAR family over the course of the last 14 or so years. And so that's going to really help. So you'd be prepared, better able to handle third-party audits. Like, we don't know where all of AI is going. We are still very much in the camp of this is assistive technology that's very much going to be helping audit professionals, risk management professionals do a better job, and really focus on really the analysis and the strategic portion of compliance. That's going to better prepare you for those audits. So another possibility would be that if you were using a solution that had the validated prompt, you could score the cake files that maybe you get from other organizations for whatever reason, that you would be able to score it and see how it how it measures up before they even do it on their own. So I expect you'll see a fair amount of that. Hopefully companies that have a cake, that have it in our STAR registry, are going to want to be among the first to do it, to look at their own files. But some others may go and say, hey, I'm more interested in some others. Maybe they're part of the cloud solution that I provide. I use their APIs, and so I really want to understand that better. So you could take this and plug the validated prompt into the typical desktop AI chat tools, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. And we've tested it with the frontier models, and use it in that sort of interactive way when you talk about, hey, maybe I'm going to use it as an audit support tool, things like that, and let it run and see what it comes up with. So you could definitely see enterprises using this. They've always been using STAR as a decision support for third-party risk assessment. And this just brings it to the next level in being able to take that information and be able to get some objective score and then look at what the feedback was, and maybe they agree with it, maybe they agree partially with it, maybe they don't, but they could use some of that feedback in terms of engaging with the supplier that they want to engage with and say, hey, maybe could you make these changes and fixes based on what they got validated. So we're thinking a lot. Certainly, there's things that maybe be more obvious than others about what the future versions of this will look like. The one thing I can tell you is it's going to be moving pretty rapidly. So if you think about the STAR for AI, certainly this is going to be validated as soon as that's like ready to go. Validated will be an option for that. This existing current version is for the cloud providers and our existing STAR registry of 4,000 providers I mentioned, plus whoever wants to go add to it. So you could think of other things like adding like different standards and say, because of how things sort of map together and the skills that generative AI has in measuring these things, you could certainly look at, hey, I want to take this cake and I want to see like what's the delta before it is compliant with something else like FedRAMP or something like that. You could certainly do things to enhance the prompt to say, okay, like really I want to be able to use this particular service provider and I'm looking at their STAR level 1, but I want to use it in a high insurance environment. And so let's go adjust the prompt to really look at it under that way and maybe have some custom information included in that. And that could be just completely useful to be able to sort of make some decisions. We could also include audit methodologies from other auditor firms, things like that. You could certainly see CSA sort of doing averages of like everything that's in our STAR registry and break it out with different categories, different dimensions, and then provide benchmarks on, well, this is something that actually is in the top percentile. It's the magic quadrant for STAR or something like that. So there's a lot of things that can be done. And like I said, it's going to happen fast. And we'd love to hear a lot of your ideas from you playing with this. So that's sort of the call to action for you. Let's go get validated. So this is, again, as we mentioned, it's free for corporate members. It's $595 for a 10-try assessment. Get 10 tries. You could do that through the course of entire 12 months if you wanted to. The nice thing about being here and listening to me and making it to the end here is you also can be aware that you can get a $200 discount, so it's only $395 with the Trust Summit code. So we'll keep that open for a little while here. And so if you're ready to go do this, go to cloudsecurityalliance.org/star. Feel free to reach out to me and go get validated. So I hope this has been interesting. Love to get the feedback from you. And then I hope you enjoy the rest of the embed. So thank you very much.